Okay, so I'm just going to give you some quick examples of how you can work on this project, how you can go about it. I'm not going to do the full speech. I'm just going to do a few seconds. Of course, you have to create imagery and video for your whole speech. One thing to think about is pacing. Do you want to change images or change your videos with the different phrases of a speech, or obviously with the different answers and questions if you did an interview? One thing you can do is watch commercials online, watch speeches, watch music videos, and pay attention to the timing. How often does that camera shift? How often does a scene or view shift? Usually there's a rhythm. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. If it's an action scene, maybe even faster. Half a second, 2 seconds. So pay attention to timing. You can sort of determine how you want to pace your video in that route. And that should be reflected in some of your storyboarding, some of your pre-planning. Also, pay attention to the speech. Listen to the speech. If you're doing a speech, listen to that a couple of times and pay attention to some different phrase changes, when the mood changes, when it gets a little more quicker or exciting or louder. And you can change your video and audio around that time. So it shouldn't just be slapping stuff together like I'm sort of going to do here, but you should really pay attention and make it intentional. I already have a new project. I called that. And once again, for Premiere Pro, we have our menu at the top. We have our media browser here where we can find our videos, audio, still images, video clips, movie clips. Once we get those clips in here, it'll give us a timeline. We can scroll through and adjust things and move things around. We can edit out here. We can click on the different elements down here, the different media, and it'll open up in our source window here. We can do some edits on there before we bring it into the actual movie, into the actual timeline. And then we can view that all of our actual movie here in the program, the sequence section here. And you can watch everything that you have in your movie so far. So let's go ahead and get started. You can browse through your folder here, or you can double click here. And I have a folder set up with all my files in there. And I already saved this once, so I saved my Adobe Premiere Pro project in here. I want to keep everything in the same place. I don't want to move stuff around. Now I have everything in one level here. You could also arrange things with all the audio in one folder, all the stills in a folder, all the movies in a folder, or maybe movies about specific things in a folder, separate folders. So you can organize it however you want, but just for the sake of time, just sort of have it all in here together. I have some soundtrack, music, some videos, and some sound effects, some stills and some movie clips. Also some stills I can use for texture overlays, things like that. And let me select what I want to start with. And I'm going to start, this speech is sort of a dark one. And it's the world's greatest dictator here. It's a great speech by Charlie Chaplin. And then I think I'm going to pick some of these video captures from the movie Metropolis. It's sort of a dystopian, dark movie about a dark factory-driven, repetitive society future. Not that that's always dark, but this does present it in that sort of way. I also have some texture overlay film I may use, so I'm going to select those. And so I'm going to get started sort of the darker side. I also have a still screen image. I have some other stills from the movie I may want to use. And I think I'll go ahead and get started with those. I can always import more things later. Now you want to make sure you keep all of your files in the same place. Don't move them around. If you do have to move them around for some reason, you should relink them through here. Okay, I could just click and drag some of my files right out here to the timeline, or I could double click on them and open up here in the sources file. So I think I'm going to double click the speech first.
The conqueror of Austerlitz, the future emperor of the world. Speak. I can't. You must. It's our only hope.
This one has quite a bit of quiet intro. Now I can see here that the sound starts right around here, the actual speech.
I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a...
I can give a little bit of that space before his voice. A couple of seconds. I'm going to add a time in there. I'm going to scroll to the end and see where this ends.
Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world. To do away with national barriers. To do away...
There's a little bit of quiet in there that a little bit of space that I'm going to have to cut out when I edit this.
with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
I guess I'll end it there, maybe a little bit before that, when it dies down a little bit for the first time. Then I'll be able to fade that out later. Okay, now I can grab that audio and bring it right down here into my timeline. It's going to give me an audio track here. Now if that audio is paired with a video, it will give me a video and audio track. This is just giving me an audio track. I can zoom in on it, zoom out.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business.
Now this one already has a little bit of music on it. And I'm sure if you really want to find it with no music on, you could find it out there somewhere.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. Everyone of good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be found. That's the world with hate has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed.
I think that's where I'm going to start adding some images around there.
But we have lost the way.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And expand out that sound so I can see it a little clearer. And remember, we can make this sound louder. Alright, I can raise it up there.
Free and beautiful. But we have lost the way.
Even a little louder, I think.
Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed.
It's a little better, a little louder. I can resize these. Grab these boundaries and make this a little bit bigger. And I can see that sound. I can scroll in, scroll out, and really get picky with editing things. It's back to the beginning there, frame 0. And there's my timeline. Then put a keyframe there. Move it over here. Right after he starts talking, put another keyframe. And grab that keyframe and lower it down. So then that sound's going to come up. And get louder.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business.
Here it goes from silence to the voice.
I don't want to be an emperor.
Bring it up just a little bit louder, I think. You can also right click on those and add an ease in or an ease out or both. And I can curve it out a little bit here. So it's a little more of a natural velocity for the increase of that sound. Ease out. Put a nice curve on there so it's a little more natural.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business.
And I can always
I
adjust
don't want
this.
to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone. The good earth is rich and can provide. There's room for everyone. The good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful. But we have lost the way. Greed has. But we have lost the way.
I think I'm going to start right there and add some video there. Obviously, I would, if this was an actual project I was working on, I would do the whole thing. But for this example, I'm just going to start right there. When it starts to get a little negative, I have some pretty cool negative images I will use from that old movie. And in our next video, we'll start adding some images to illustrate or augment that speech.